All right. So to go over this prompt again, this for what you're going to be expecting to do. And at this point of the semester, besides Dracula, we've read everything we're going to read. Dracula is the last thing we're going to read. Um, I'll probably show this recording to my online class too. But they don't. Yeah, I think the way that class is going, probably won't get to Dracula. We fell a little behind in that class. So everything through Hill House there is open game. But what are you going to be doing for this project then? You're going to be writing a persuasive argument about one of our texts, one that anticipates opposing views and responds to them fairly. The goal is to take one of the schools, so psychoanalysis, formal studies, influence studies, feminist criticism, historical criticism, class or Marxist criticism, and use one of them as a lens into saying something new and innovative about one of the texts. So all these discussions that we've had all semester, guys, we've had some pretty good discussions this semester. I'd really enjoyed our discussions on Hill House. I think we did, and Frankenstein. I think we did really good talking about both those novels. But all these issues we've raised, and I think I'm going to give you. You're going to have one more short paper left to do before this comes up. But all these things that we've done, you can you want to focus. You want to focus in on a specific aspect of one of these novels or short stories. Or you can focus, like I said, on an adaptation. Maybe the adaptation is really different than the original text. Well, that would be something worth commenting on. Like, oh, look at this adaptation look at the Netflix Haunting of Hill House show, right? It adds new layers to different characters. Like Theodora, for instance. Right? Her sexuality is much more fleshed out in the show, right? Then you can even like do a paper about that. So that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. You're focusing in on a specific aspect of one of these works we've done. So there's lots of stuff you can do. Sleepy Hollow, the Poe stories, the Hawthorne stories, Flannery O'Connor, The Good Man Is Hard to Find, Rose for Emily, and Frankenstein and Hill House. So lots of stuff is open game here. I think what I'm going to do for the third short paper is actually have you guys. This might lead into an idea for this too. I think for the third short paper, I'm going to ask you to look at an adaptation of either Frankenstein, Dracula, or Hill House, and then write an analysis of something. So I'll give you probably a list of options that you can pick from. And then you can do a adaptation analysis. I think that's what we'll do for their third short paper. That I figure it'll be something different. So you guys can check out one of these adaptations. If you have Netflix, there's plenty of stuff just on that, on all these books we've done. Of course, that at the same time, I'd hate to ask you to buy something that you don't have access to. So I don't know. Would that sound fine for you guys if we did something like that for the third paper? Speak it. You don't feel free to tell me no. Silence.
Oh, I didn't catch that last bit. This dog is distracting me.
Said for the third short paper, I'll probably have you guys look at an adaptation of one of these books and write a paper about it. That might lead to a research topic idea. I don't know. Would that be something that you would want to do?
Now, adaptation as far as like just some minor changes to the book, or or like a movie adaptation, or
Yeah, it would be a movie adaptation, right?
oh, okay, yeah, I'd be fine with that.
Or a TV show adaptation or whatever, right? So yeah, there's lots of stuff we can do for that. For the 3 novels, I'll give you a list of adaptations, and you can pick one. I think that's what we'll do.
I feel like Call of Cthulhu would be a good one for that too, because that has influenced a lot of media.
Right? Yeah, there's even a Call of Cthulhu black and white movie, which is really cool, that I've seen before. Like Ryan, you could do something like Lovecraft and Games or something. I know we've talked about that before. So it doesn't even have to be a movie. You can be a game or whatever other type of media. So yeah, we'll do that for the 3rd short paper. Maybe that will lead to an avenue for this. So I'll probably come up with the prompts for it sometime. I'll probably have the prompt for that for you next week. Okay. Yeah, we want to get through Dracula before I give you that, because there's lots of Dracula adaptations. So remember what you're going to be doing for this big paper. Like I said, you're going to focus on a specific thing. And then you're going to do research on that specific part of whatever it is you choose. So whenever we go to these databases and you just type in Frankenstein, right, well, you're going to find a lot of crap, right? Probably thousands of articles, because all these books that we're reading in this class are very, very famous, right? None of the stuff in here that we've read all the stuff we've read in here has been studied countless times. Right? I haven't really thrown you any curveballs of things that aren't understudied. This is very much a canonical horror class. So let's say you wanted to write about sexuality in Hill House, right? Well, you could probably find a bunch of articles just on that, right? Compared to a historical analysis of Hill House. Right? Well, you wouldn't want that unless it's relevant to your specific sort of narrow interest. So you're going to be, I guess, the way that this will work, you're going to start out thinking big, like, okay, I want to write about Hill House. Then you want to focus in on a specific part of the book, a specific theme, and then you will narrow down from there. And if you do a movie adaptation, right, you can do something like, well, maybe like, here's how the book handles this theme. Here's how the movie handles this theme. Then you can kind of go into like a compare and contrast almost. Like, what does this new adaptation add to the original text? Is the new adaptation better, or is it worse? Right. So lots of things you can do here. So unlike English 101, where you're like, I want to write about cloning, right? Or I want to write about some political issue, right? This is a little different. You're focusing in on a specific thing that we've debated about on one of these texts. I'm going to focus in on that. Nature and nurture and Frankenstein, right? That's a classic topic. The dreams in Frankenstein, right? You could probably do a whole paper about that. So, kind of talking aloud here. I don't know. I'll just ask the 3 of you, based on everything we've read so far. Does anything come into mind as far as a potential idea that you might want to explore?
For me, definitely. I know I want to do Hill House in some form, and for the final paper, I'm definitely gonna do like like kind of an analysis of the central theme of the book compared to the show. I don't want to spoil it for you, but the show, for me, what I got from it, the house was a metaphor for life in a way. And I felt like that really added to the narrative that the book began. And I was really missing that because I watched the show before I ever read the book, and that was something that I really missed reading through the book.
Right.
I'll likely do something similar with the Dracula movies comparatively to the book.
You'll probably do Dracula. There's like I said, there's tons of different Dracula movies. Which ones have you seen, Ryan?
I've probably seen one or two in my day, but I just don't remember. I'd have to rewatch them. I probably watched most of them for the first time. I wasn't ever a very big movie watcher. I just heard from about Dracula for many different things.
Right. Speaking of which, Ron, you're our last presenter. You will present next Thursday, the last day we cover Dracula. So just a heads up for you there. Lauren, anything coming to mind for you?
I'm thinking about doing something with Frankenstein and something with Shelley about how I could tie her into the way her parents neglected her. And then that's tying it into how Victor neglected the monster.
That would be cool. Yeah, do a biographical analysis of Frankenstein through the author. Yeah, I'm sure that I'm sure somebody's probably written something about that before. Even like probably a good source for you would even be like a Mary Shelley biography or something like that. We might be able to find you something like that. That's one of the problems with Southern is we don't have a big library full of books. We have to kind of rely on the databases. But we might very well find something there. I know, keeping this in mind, what all you guys might want to do, I'll run some searches in the databases here in a minute, just to kind of see what all might be out there. All three of those sound like promising leads. Maybe once I sign the third short paper, maybe that will even help you, Ryan, in doing a analysis of a Dracula film.
Will I be able to? Is the third short paper on Dracula?
You'll have your choice on which novel you want to write about. If we do a film analysis, you can do Hill House, Dracula, or Frankenstein.
Okay, if I do one on Dracula, will I be able to like add in part of that paper to the research paper?
Yes. You guys can build your big research paper off of one of your shorter papers. So that's kind of what the shorter papers are designed for, is even to get you focusing in on a specific aspect of these works. So yes, you can bring in parts of your short paper into this for sure. So as review, right? Remember that the first step is going to be an annotated bibliography where you're going to find at least five sources on your topic. All right, so 5 isn't too big of a number to ask. Right? In English 101, I made people do 10. Right? So I'm a little easier in this class than I am in English 101. but you'll find 5 on your topic. But you want to make sure that those 5 that you have all contribute something. Right? If you go through the databases and pick the first 5 articles you find, well, it's probably likely that not every one of those articles is completely relevant to what you're focusing in on.
That happened to me whenever I did the bibliography in English 101. I chose like 8 originally, and 2 of them, after I read them, the words in the title were pertaining to my topic, but the actual content really wasn't, so I had to throw them out.
That's always the worst. That's always the worst for sure.
I got so bad, I was looking up corporal punishment, and one of them was like, what words best influence customers in capitalist America? And I was like, that doesn't help.
Right. So hopefully you guys won't have this problem. My goal is everybody gets through this class with an A. Everybody gets through this class and you write something really good, right? But if you, sometime over the next couple of weeks, if you meet with me one-on-one on here, we can for sure find some articles.
Questions a little bit off topic. Like, what is one of the first literary texts that really like popularized werewolves? Because I love like werewolf movies and media and stuff like that, and I would be interested in reading that in my own time.
That's a good question. The idea of werewolves goes way, way back in folklore. I don't know if there's necessarily a 19th century novel that does it. I know the 30s, during those Universal monster movies, you had the Wolfman, right, which kind of helped popularize werewolves. But gosh, I mean, I can think of Renaissance plays that have werewolves in them, right? The Duchess of Malfi is an example, like a Renaissance era play that has one in it. I think it's actually in our British Lit textbook, Nicole, the Duchess of Malfi.
I will have to look at that.
Yeah, so as far as like a famous novel like Frankenstein or Dracula, I don't know if there necessarily is one. I might be wrong. I might have overlooked it. There's lots of great werewolf movies, like the original Wolfman, American Werewolf in London. That's a really good one from the 80s. Yeah, we didn't talk about werewolves any in here. I guess that's an omission. Yeah, I would recommend that play, Nicole. It's a really interesting play from a feminist lens as well.
You've piqued my interest.
Yeah, I didn't do it in that class just because I gotta force feed everybody Shakespeare. So like I said, so getting back to the topic at hand, remember the first parts of your bibliography. And if we scroll down, it's a bibliography with a proposal. You scroll down, you kind of see exactly what a bibliography is. So you cite your source in MLE style. So I'm not going to assume that you guys know how to do MLE style. Like I taught it to 2 of you last semester, but I can never make assumptions. So I will go over MLE style again before this thing is due. I'm actually going to come up with, I think I'm going to retire my old sheet on, you guys know Ryan's had to do it like 3 times now, my old citation sheet. I'm going to retire it and I'm going to write a new one soon. So, but yeah, we will practice MLE style before this is due. You will cite your source, then underneath it, you summarize it. and a couple of sentences about how useful the source is to your topic. Right. So that's what does this source contribute to the conversation? That's kind of the best way to think about this whole project, guys. Think about, in the scholarship, there's a long-standing conversation on maybe nature and nurture and Frankenstein. Tons of people have written about it. Well, the bibliography is all about identifying the conversation. Right? So what are people saying about that specific topic? What patterns are you seeing in the conversation? If you can kind of start reading over it and start identifying patterns, then you can kind of parse out for yourself, okay, well, what can I add to this conversation? Like what can be my specific contribution to the conversation? Once you get to that level, that's when you're doing really good original work. Right? Your goal isn't to parrot what people before you have said. Right? There's no parroting involved. Right? There will be a part of this big paper where you talk about the scholars before you, but your goal isn't to parrot what they've said. Your goal is to add something new that hasn't been said. Right?
I don't know if this is the way you're supposed to do annotated bibliographies and a paper like this, but something that helped me when I was doing it in the English 101 class is I wrote my introduction and thesis for the actual final paper before I went and researched it. Like, I did a little bit of general research just to get my thesis down, and that helped me understand my point and find quotes that supported my point.
Yeah, the good news about this is part of your bibliography will be the proposal. Right? So that's kind of where you will be fleshing out what it is you hope to do. So this proposal that I've given you this whole thing on this prompt is a research project somebody did for me before. But in the proposal, that's exactly what you do. You try to flesh out, here's the argument I'm trying to make. Right? This is what I hope to argue in this paper. Maybe even in the proposal, you can sort of preliminarily flesh out the conversation that you see happening. The proposal is about a page. This person kind of went overboard with it a little bit. But the proposal is about a page, and that's exactly what you do. You flesh out, here's the argument I hope to make. Maybe here's some parts of the text that I'm going to use to support my argument. Or the film adaptation, some scenes that I'm going to use to support my argument. And that's exactly what you do over about a page. You predict where you see your argument going. Okay. So yes, so what you'll be doing first at the very end of April is exactly that. The proposal and an annotated bibliography at both together. And that will be worth 10% of the total project grade. As a standalone. So finding sources, annotating them, make sure they're relevant to what you're doing, and then having at least of course, the proposal changes, guys. Like once you write your proposal, you don't exactly have to stick with it. Like your argument might change the more research you read, for instance. But the proposal is at least a good place to start. When I read through the proposals, I can be like, okay, usually the type of feedback I give is, okay, here's some stuff you can look up. That's usually how I go about grading proposals. Here's some stuff you can look up. Here's some stuff. Or I might say, here's a passage from the text that I remember that might help you here. So I usually try to use the proposals to steer you in a good direction. That's why we do that part first. I try to steer you in a direction that I think will help you succeed. And then if I read the annotated bibliography, I say to myself, okay, you're doing some good research. Or maybe you need to throw out a couple of these articles and find some better ones. Sometimes I'll say that. Oftentimes I'll say that. Right. So that's part one. Right, and that'll be due the 27th of April, according to my dates that I've done before. And then on the 4th of May, on that day, you guys are supposed to have a draft ready. So we will do peer review as a class together. So we'll have a whole day of workshop where you guys will help offer feed, where we'll talk about each person's paper and try to offer feedback to that person in class. We'll have a class discussion about each person's paper. So no pressure there, right? The whole class is going to be talking about your paper. So, but I think
I got off the hook last time for that. I had to talk about my own.
Right. And of course, you guys know peer review doesn't really work too well in online classes or whatever. So I think in the future, I'm just going to throw out doing it in online classes. But in a class this small and this intimate, right, we can definitely do a good job with peer review. Everybody gives each other feedback before you turn in the final thing. I mean, this is such a small class, you can read everybody's paper and offer feedback. I might even offer, because I'm doing the online version of the class, I might even offer one of them to come into the Zoom and if they want to, they don't have to, of course. I might even offer them a chance to be peer reviewed if they so choose. I kind of doubt anybody will take me up on it, but I'll at least offer it to them. So yeah, the peer review the 4th, and then a week after we do the peer review, you'll turn in the final paper on Blackboard. And then I will grade them during finals week. What I'll probably do during finals week is I'm so busy during finals week finalizing all the grades. So I'll probably, the way that I always handle it is I'll give it a quick read, write a grade down. Then later, probably once the summer starts, later I'll send you very extensive feedback. I always delay sending extensive feedback until final grades are turned in. Just for the simple reason I teach so much stuff that I don't have time in that 1 week to give you really good feedback. So I will give you that grade in the final week. But I'll send you the feedback during probably that first week or so of summer. And the final paper, that's going to be the longest thing most of you have probably written. You'll probably have about a 6 to 8 page argument here. And the reason why I say 6 to 8 pages, that's the standard. That's the standard across the entire state of West Virginia for a research paper in English 102. That's certainly the standard at WVU, because I also teach that class there. I'm not giving you 6 to 8 to be a jerk. That's the standard, right? And whether or not other English faculty here hold their students to that, that's not any of my business. All I know is I'll hold my students to it, because that's supposed to be the standard. 6 to 8 full pages.
You ensure that your students will be able to hold up to a professor just as rigorous as you.
That's my goal. That's my goal. Because once you guys transfer to a 4-year college, right? It doesn't matter what you major in. You know, you're going to be held to higher standards. So if I hold you guys to those standards now, you won't be sweating later, right? Where are you thinking about going, Nicole? I know you said you're thinking about majoring in English. Where are you thinking about going?
I'm really not sure yet. I've considered WVU, but I'm also looking into Marshall. I haven't like really pinpointed my end goal and my goal as far as career goes. I know I want to be a teacher of some kind, and I'm really looking towards like being a teacher at some sort of youth juvenile facility that is like also a teaching complex of some kind.
Right.
I think that would be really rewarding, but I know it would be difficult as well. So I'm not totally sure yet.
Now that's something we can talk more about as you get finished up through Southern. I do know WVU does offer English Ed up there, so that's something that you could do up there.
Do you know anyone who has experience in jobs like that?
In like more of a private school type setting?
Kind of, yeah.
I would have to think. I would have to think about it. I know plenty of teachers in the K-12 system, public school. But
If you ever think of any, let me know, because I want to get in contact with some and ask them about their experiences with the job.
yeah, if you teach at a private school, you just sometimes too don't always have to go through those same certification standards as well. Like you can just get your degree in English, and you wouldn't have to have all the education stuff to go with it. I do know that sometimes works out that way. Of course, I don't know if you guys saw, but the state just passed the law saying the state just passed a law saying that you don't even have to have an education degree to teach in K-12 now. You don't even have to have a degree in the subject. So somebody with a bachelor's degree in basket weaving can go teach high school English, right? That's what the state just passed. So, yeah, great for us, right? Hence, feel the sarcasm in my voice, right? Great for us.
And I thought West Virginia's education couldn't get any worse. I was surprised.
It's getting ready to get much, much worse. They can't find anybody to teach K-12. They're lowering the standards to such a point that anybody with a bachelor's degree in whatever can go do it.
Wow.
I can apply for teach high school math if I wanted to, right? That's a scary thought.
If things keep going like they're going, only West Virginia is not going to have any people left to teach. People are going to be leaving in droves. Unless they're too ignorant to know that there's a problem with that, which most of them are.
Right. So I basically summed up what this is. So let's now look through the databases again, see what we can come up with. Share my screen with you all. So if you remember, to get to the databases, you got to first click My Southern, and then log in with your credentials. Then, oops, what did I do wrong here? I got too clicky. Turn the menu. Okay, so once you log in, you'll go down to where it says Library Resource menu, and you'll click EBSCOhost. You will always click the first, for this class at least, you'll always click the first one. These other ones are better for English 101. But for this class, you'll click the first one. We don't have the MLE database here. That's the big one we're really missing. We're really missing out on. So that's something that we can look through one-on-one is the MLE database. Now, I've actually been nagging them for a while now to get it, but the librarian will not answer my emails. She's like,
Do they have a counter argument for why they don't want it, or are they just neglecting it completely?
they're just neglecting it completely. So, but we have new administration now, so I think I'm going to go to the new administration and demand that we, not the demand that we get it, right? Because it's for this class, it's hard to do great research without that MLE database, because that's the database dedicated to English and literature. The librarians in Logan, they just don't even answer my emails. It really irritates me. So there's lots of things that you can click through for what we do have, though. So one thing that we might want to do first, you'll always want to, usually if you just want to find articles, you'll always want to click this one, Academic Search Complete. That's the biggest database in the world as far as academic journals go. Like, it has a lot of everything. So sometimes you'll find some good stuff on literature and whatnot there. For now, let's just look at our ebook collection, though. Let's see what we got for that. Book sources when it comes to literature are sometimes better than journal articles, just because they're written for a more common audience in mind. So you don't have to have a master's in English to really be able to appreciate a lot of these ebooks articles, because they are written for a more general crowd. Of course, I know if you find something like this, I'll know that you're not going to read the whole darn book, right? But you might do something like you might read a chapter in the book. Let's just let's start out with kind of, remember I recommended that you guys make an account on here. Okay, so you find something and you want to get back to it, you might want to get back to it later. Let's just type in Mary Shelley, see what comes up, just for the ebooks. So this is kind of helping Lauren out with what she's thinking about. Well, here's our very first one called Mary Shelley, from the series Critical Insights. So we might say, what's our table of contents look like in this? Well, we have a table of contents. So here's some chapters from the book that you might check out. You have a little mini biography of Mary Shelley that you can pull up, that you could read through. You have some critical contexts. So an analysis of gender, power, and blame in Mary Shelley's early fiction. Creations Born of Chaos, the historical and cultural context of Mary Shelley's novel. So that would give you like good historical context on the book. Reception is Reconciliation and the Critical Legacy of Mary Shelley. So yeah, just this first book, we're finding a bunch of different sources that you might use. We've got several books here. Life with Mary Shelley. This is from the Stanford University Press. published in 2014, so that's very new. What's our contents here look like? This looks like it's a collection of essays about Mary Shelley. That's what this looks like. So, yeah, it looks like that would even help you parse out something to the effect of like the different critical approaches to Frankenstein. William Godwin, Mary Wollstonecraft, Mary Shelley, and their offspring. Victor Frankenstein, a family of rebels. Well, that sounds exactly like what you were talking about doing a minute ago, Lauren. Just the title of it without even looking at it. In her book, Bacche investigates the lives of the title's authors in order to understand more completely their roles in the literary life of their works. Her particular pursuit is on their subversive, progressive, and alternative points of view. She develops the themes of anarchism, political justice, and feminist identity issues. You would be hard pressed not to check that one out, Lauren. That sounds exactly like what you're thinking about doing. This is a book written about Frankenstein's 200th anniversary. Yeah, we just had the 200th anniversary of Frankenstein just a couple of years ago. So just typing in Mary Shelley, right? We're finding a bunch of different stuff here in the ebooks. A history of the Frankenstein narratives. What's this? Yeah, this one even has some chapters on the different adaptations of Frankenstein. Depending on like whatever adaptation you want to do, you might find something in here. So I would definitely recommend that everybody first check out the ebooks, because you can find a chapter in one of these ebooks that's likely pretty relevant to whatever it is you're doing. Let's try Haunting a Hill House. Which means try my search, mix up my search terms. Shirley Jackson. No ebooks on Haunting Hill House. That's kind of weird. You might find something about that in the databases. I don't know how the database came up with the co-presidency of Bush and Cheney from a search from the Haunting of Hill House, but here we are.
Their presidency might have been very haunted.
George actually doesn't seem too bad now. He's actually seems like he's came down to earth. He's pretty mellow these days. He hasn't followed the rest of the party off the cliff. Well, how about Dracula? I'm sure we'll find a lot of stuff on Dracula. Yep, that's predicted. Is this the book? I think it is. Yeah, it's the actual book. So if you guys don't have a copy of the book, here it is. Did you guys all secure an e-copy or something, or a physical book of Dracula?
I got the e-copy of it.
Okay. I know Ryan found an audio book. Here's a book just about the 1930s movie Here's another critical insights book. Let's see what we got in it. So here we see here a bunch of different titles of different essays that's in this book. So yeah, Haunting a Hill House doesn't seem to have a lot in here, but the other stuff does. If we go to the top and click choose databases, this is where you can pick from everything. I'd say, whenever you choose databases to search, unless you're just looking for ebooks, click them all. Can't hurt. We don't have access to too many of them. Reason why we don't have access to a ton of them is they do cost money. So like I was complaining a minute ago about how we don't have MLE. Well, subscribing to MLE costs the college money. All right, so
Seems like a good use of the COVID money.
yeah, right. Yeah, I'm gonna get on this again. I'm gonna get back. I haven't tried in a while. Now that we have a new vice president on the college, I might try to work my magic again.
Let's start a petition.
Haunting a Hill House. Let's see if we come up with anything now. Yeah, right. We found some articles in the broader database. So here's one from 2020. Help Eleanor Come Home. Monstrous Maternity in Shirley Jackson's The Haunting of Hill House. So whenever you find one of these things on this database, you'll always have an abstract that basically explains like what the article it is that you're getting ready to read about. So you can kind of thumb through the abstract and see, okay, is this relevant to what I want to do or not? It says this article argues that Haunting a Hill House employs Freudian theories of maternity to interrogate the subject position of mother within psychoanalysis itself. Context of the mid-20th century popularization of psychoanalysis, maternity in Hill House challenges the heteronormative foundations of post-Freudian America. And now, remember, Eleanor's mother played a big part in her downfall in Haunting a Hill House, right? Just the trauma of watching her mother all those years. So that could be a potential article.
I think that could also play into my analysis about the Netflix version of how the house is a metaphor for life. And it could be like a twisted mother figure in a way.
Right. Yeah, the mother is in the show is even more interesting because the mother of all of them in the show dies in the show, right? So that leaves a scar on all of them. Not to spoil it. Shirley Jackson's The Haunting of Hill House is a horror novel, the uncanny, the monstrous, the sudden. I don't know what's up with the caps lock here. They really wanted to draw out the drama in their title, I suppose. Shades of Shakespeare and the Queering of Hill House. This is brand new, 2021. Note here, if you find an article and you can't immediately get a PDF, all you would need to do is get this information right here, the author and the source. Get this information right here, the author and the source. Type me an email, say, Jeff, I need the source, and I will get it for you. Okay, I have interlibrary loan privileges where I can probably find it for you. So you won't, if you do the research the day before the papers due, right, I won't be able to get it for you in time. But if you start early, you find an article like this that doesn't have it, that you can't automatically read, chances are in a day or two I can get it for you. So I just wanted to tell you guys that. Picnicking at Hill House, Shirley Jackson's Gothic Vision of Heaven. Well, damn, I want to read that article. Because we kind of even talked about the picnic. Like, what's the significance of the picnic? What did Theodora see during the picnic? The Haunting of Hill House season 2 on Netflix. Oh, so that's about the Bly Manor show. Waking up from the dream of motherhood and Netflix is The Haunting of Hill House. Shirley Jackson's The Haunting of Hill House is a strange question of trans subjectivity. Yeah, that sounds like a really involved paper. So yeah, I mean, you guys can kind of see here, just even running some searches, we're finding, even on Haunting a Hill House, we didn't find anything in the books. We're finding stuff in the databases. We owe that show, especially the reviving study of Haunting of Hill House. Before that show came out, The Haunting from novel to film, the film. I think this might be about the earlier movie versions of it. We do owe it to that show to reviving study of that book.
I really feel like the show just breathed some new life into the analysis of that book and really just furthered it. Like, I feel like it did super well in incorporating the original themes in the book and transforming them.
Yeah, well, we owe it to good adaptations sometimes and reviving interest in studying these texts, adding something new to it. So yeah, I mean, run your own searches sometime. Just if you get bored, right? You think, hell, what do I do? It's raining outside. What do I do? Well, even way before this project's due, get on here and run some searches. The earlier you find some good stuff, the better off you're going to be in a month. Okay. But we still have Dracula left to read. So maybe don't, maybe not for now, just think about exploring, right? Finding some stuff. And then after we read Dracula, that'll be when you really start diving down into specifics. Okay, we've read everything. Here's now what I want to do. You guys are liable to read Dracula and be like, I want to write about Dracula now. Right? So luckily enough, we're ending our reading in enough time where you can write about everything we've read. How you guys feel? Feel refreshed on this stuff? I know we covered it several weeks ago, but I figured a refresher was in order. You guys feeling good?
I'm looking forward to my contribution to the conversation.
There you go.
On Hill House.
There you go. You can also maybe, like, let's say for instance, you don't have to. I mostly want you to find stuff on here. Let's say you find a really good review of Haunting of Hill House just on the show, just on Google or something. I will allow for 1 or 2 of those kinds of sources. Right. So sometimes people in the general web flesh out arguments pretty well. They're just not published in an academic journal. Right? But sometimes that kind of stuff will help you too. But I don't want to see a bibliography full of nothing but web sources. Right. We're past that at this point in 102.
I have a question. If this was a more, not that this is not a professional setting, but if it was like a more professional setting and we were writing a paper and used like a YouTube source or a web source, would that bring down, even if it was just one, would that bring down the credibility of our paper for future reference?
No, I don't think so. Let's say you find somebody that gave a really interesting analysis of Hill House or something on YouTube. No, bring it in. But that would count towards one of your general sources, though, and not one of your professional sources. It depends how credible you think the person on YouTube is. If they seem like they're good delivering some smart analysis, by all means, use it. I really like that one in the film class. I always link you guys to that one channel, Call It to Learning. I like his videos on these different films. He's very academic about it. Ryan, Lauren, you feeling good? Feeling refreshed here? The silence.
Good about it.
Good, good. All right. So yeah. I don't think at this point I don't have to cover these anymore. I feel like I've done it 2 classes now. But like I said, in the future, if you want to meet with me one-on-one, we can even look through WVU's databases, see what all they have. I know that with Cole, what you're talking about doing, they have an entire database dedicated just to film. So that might be a possibility. You might find something in there.
That definitely sounds very helpful.
Right. Yeah, so all right then. I you know what you guys want to know the reason why I still work for WVU some? It's sure the extra couple of $100 a week just to teach one class a semester for them is cool. But I mostly still work for them just to keep my library privileges. That sounds really nerdy, right? But that's mostly why I still work for them.
Hey, they just give you an excuse to buy a PS5.
Yeah,
that's how I look at it.
It gave me an extra couple $100 to buy a PS5. It's all good. It's nice to watch movies for film class in 4K. So I'm a PS5, so that's cool. All right, guys. So see 2 of you next class. See you guys next time. Remember, chapter 1 through 7, Dracula, for Thursday.
Before we go, I bought a Dracula book as well as leading to that.